Hi everyone, I'm Dale Smith, aka Journo Dale, and we're here to talk about Canadian politics. It is time to take some of your questions, and they're all coming from Twitter this week. First one comes from Steve Shaw, who asks, the UK Parliament is debating changes to their Regency Act that could affect who gets to appoint a Canadian GG or Section 26 senators, which are the 4 to 8 additional senators if there's a particular gridlock. Given what Canada did with the last changes to the secession rules, does Canada need to agree to the changes to the Regency Act? No. Regency Act in the UK is post-Statute of Westminster, so it does not affect Canada. As a result, Canada does not actually have any Regency laws, which is actually a problem. Our good friend Philippe Lagacé has been on this for a while. There is some legal interpretation that the letters patent could allow a governor general to appoint their own successor, which is really a problem if we wind up in a Julie Payette situation where we've got a governor general who is a problem and needs to be removed for some reason or another, and if the king is incapacitated for some reason, then that could cause problems. It's likely to be an issue of constitutional chicken, for example, if a governor general is trying to oust a prime minister, and there not being a king to appeal to is where the real problem lies. So that's why there's a push by certain academics to get a Regency law in Canada, is just to make sure that we've got that constitutional backstop. However, no one's been on a push to do this, no political actor has shown a willingness to go to make this an issue, so that's a problem. But yeah, so in terms of the UK, their law is completely separate from ours, and the particular legal fiction that we used around the succession law, which is a problem in and of itself, is not going to be in play here. Our next question comes from Saeed Khan, who asks, this is provincial, but how can a province sell off protected greenbelt land to donor developers and then shortly thereafter unprotected and not face at minimum some form of criminal investigation? And that is a good question. And that may yet be happening. There are calls for the Auditor General in the province to look into this. I'm sure this will escalate further because this looks very suspicious is not even the right word at this point. It looks like there's out and out graft happening, and this is likely going to get looked into. We're going to have to see just what sort of process that's going to be. You can almost bet that the Ford government is going to try and indemnify itself in some manner, but that may not necessarily protect them from a criminal proceeding. We'll see. But my response is that it's still early days, and that may yet happen. So let's just keep an eye out on that. Our final question is from Jin Darren, who says, how did you react to seeing Alex Cohen, the Director of Communications for Minister of Public Safety, suggest that he could manipulate a journalist to cover the convoy in a way that helps the government make a case for the Emergencies Act? So I went and looked through the records that were on file from the public inquiry and found the particular message that he is referring to, in which he says, I've been encouraging journalists to take a closer look at who these people are and where their $3 million comes from, which was about the GoFundMe. And so the person responds, if there's anything to be found in that GoFundMe? And he says, it's worth looking into. I've put Marie Wolf on this, who was at the Canadian Press at the time, and said she's obsessed with this kind of stuff, and that's kind of where it is. I would not qualify that as trying to manipulate a journalist. There are far more ways in which government comms people try to spin us This I would not qualify as that. This was on January 25th, so this is still in the first week of the occupation. The Emergencies Act is barely, even being discussed at this point, only as a last resort contingency. They're not anywhere near contemplating it. So the premise of the question I'm going to have questions about, but so having reviewed this, I don't see this as anything resembling trying to manipulate a journalist, trying to suggest a journalist look into something which she was probably already looking into already. I don't really see how that is the government trying to build a case for the Emergencies Act. The timeline doesn't make sense. What is in here does not suggest that that's what they're trying to do. This was something where they were just trying to get a handle on the situation, who these people were. And yeah, so my reaction is it's kind of a nothing burger, really. If a government comms person wants to spin you, they will do it in far more oblique ways. If a government decom or comms director or press secretary calls you up and says, hey, I've got something for you, that's very different than what is being suggested here. And even if they would do that, then we would know that they are trying to spin us about something. So we would, keep our eyes open. Yeah, not much more to tell you there. And that's everything for this week. Thank you for all of your questions. Join us again next week for some more Canadian politics. I'm Dale Smith. That's at journo_Dale on Twitter. Well, it's still around. And don't forget to like the video, share, subscribe, and support us on Patreon. Thanks, everyone.